It's time to get a little inspired on Tech It Out. In this episode, we'll get you some real inspiration from the 13-year-old Australian who's making apps to address environmental issues and autism. And that's not all. A full review of the new Vivo V7. Right after that, some tips on how to spot fake news and much more from the world of tech. It's not every day that you come across a bright young teenager who doesn't just go to school but is also an entrepreneur. Yes, you heard that right. And we met one such boy at the Global Entrepreneurship Summit 2017 in Hyderabad. And you must know that this 13-year-old boy isn't just an ordinary entrepreneur. At such a young age, he's making apps to address social issues like environmental protection and autism. Take a look at this story to know everything about his journey and take away some inspiration.
Meet Hamish Finlayson, a 13-year-old app developer from Australia. Hamish is in 7th grade, but quite unlike other teenagers, he is doing way more than just going to school in the morning and playing in the evening. This bright boy has been designing apps to address issues like environment and autism. And interestingly, he has been creating such social good apps since he was 10. Hamish has released 5 apps so far, with the 6th one on its way. Let's hear from the boy himself as to what drove him to be a coder at such an early age, and how his apps are helping to protect the environment and aid people with autism.
It happened because when I was very young, I liked video games, I still do, and in grade 3 at my school I learned about coding and how you can make video games using coding. So in grade 5 I used that knowledge to enter a competition called Young ICT Explorers, where you use technology to solve a real life problem. I decided to make a game based on litter because I hate litter. From there, I got 2nd place in the competition and didn't give up on my app, so I continued growing and expanding, developing new apps and games. And I have developed 5 apps. 4 of those are about litter and how it affects the oceans and environment. And I've developed another app which is about autism and using strategies to help people with autism not get stressed out. Well, the first app I created is called Litter Bug Smash, which is a game that shows you how litter affects the environment in different ways, like, you know, litter islands, where a bunch of litter is just dumped on an island, you know, plastic in the sea, and needles getting left behind in the ocean, and ghost nets, which are nets that have been abandoned. I use these things into a game, and yeah, there's 5 levels. The one about autism is called ASD and Me, and it is a game of where Triple T, the main character, the turtle, is put into a scenario that a person with autism would usually be put in. Stuff like loud noises or stress. And he tells you how to solve the problem, and you as the player control Triple T to use that solution. Technology can be very finicky and can break and glitch and go in the opposite direction you want it to go in, and easy part, I don't know, you can just do things a lot quicker than, you know, in person, you know. You can figure out how you did on your test, stuff like that. Well, I definitely do want to work in the digital space or gaming, stuff like that. You know, if I can, I'll try to stay within the region of stuff I'm doing right now.
Isn't it interesting to see that how this young boy went on to be an app developer from just a casual video game player? Clearly, there's no age to pursue your passion and do good work. So let your kids unleash their creativity, and yes, don't stop them from playing video games, but that doesn't mean you leave them to their devices. The Android smartphone market has another warrior to fight in the mid-range battleground. We're talking about the new Vivo V7. Priced under 20,000 rupees, it looks promising, but does this warrior have in it enough to trump others? Let's go check out.
If you're planning to buy a mid-range Android phone, there's a new contender in the market that you might want to check: the Vivo V7. The phone is priced at 18,990 Indian rupees, but should you pay this much for this phone? Let's find out. The Vivo V7 has a pretty basic design. In other words, there's nothing special about the way it looks. The design of the phone may not be extraordinary, but its ergonomics go on to impress us. First, the phone is pretty light in weight, one of the lightest available in the 20,000 rupees or lower bracket. Second, the slim profile and rounded corners make it comfortable to operate and carry around. Another good thing is that it does not have a hybrid SIM slot, which means it can support a total of 3 cards, 2 SIM cards and a memory card. The fingerprint sensor at the back is conveniently located and it works fine. The display of the phone is another highlight here. The Vivo V7 comes with a 5.7-inch display with an 18:9 aspect ratio, which means more viewing space for users. Its narrow bezels make the experience all the more immersive. The display has a decent color reproduction and offers great viewing angles. The cameras on the Vivo V7 boast great numbers. A 24-megapixel rear camera and a 16-megapixel front camera. But as we know, the megapixel count alone is not an indicator of image quality. So let's get straight to the results captured by the rear camera. The rear camera captures a good amount of light and generates detailed snaps in bright light environments. But in not so lit up areas, the camera does not capture enough details. Also, the phone allows you to capture photos with a bokeh effect, but we don't find the mode effective enough. Speaking of the front camera, it does a good job in the outdoors and in low light conditions. The selfie flash does a fair job to enhance the camera performance. But while it lights up the frame, don't expect much in terms of details. What else? The camera of the phone is loaded with a lot of features for users to create professional quality images. All in all, the camera on the Vivo V7 is satisfactory, if not phenomenal. The Vivo V7 is packed with a Qualcomm octa-core Snapdragon 450 processor paired with 4 GB of RAM. And it got along with us smoothly. There were no lags or other performance issues, but there was one thing that behaved a little erratic, and that is the face unlock feature. Most of the time, the phone could not identify the registered face. We wish it was equally smooth. Coming to its power, the 3000 mAh battery on the phone makes it easily last for up to a day. The phone runs on FunTouch OS 3.2, which is based on Android 7.1. The experience was good, but you must know that it borrows some parts of the user interface design from iOS. The Vivo V7 has 32 GB of storage on board with support for a micro SD card up to 256 GB. It comes in 2 colors, champagne gold and matte black. The Vivo V7 is definitely a good contender at this price point. but we say look around for better options.
Well, quite like every week, it's now time to learn some new tips to make your tech life better. And today we bring you some really handy tips that can help you in spotting fake news so that you don't get misled by things that are not genuine. Tip number 1, be skeptical of headlines and articles. For instance, false news stories often carry catchy headlines in all caps with exclamation marks. So if you find any claim to be unbelievable in such headlines, they probably are. Tip number 2, article URL in the address bar of your browser could be another way to figure out if the story you're reading is true or false. Many false news websites mimic the URL and make it look like the original one with small changes here and there. So pay attention to the URL to establish the source. Tip number 3, look for other reports on the same subject. If no other website is reporting about the same story, there's a high possibility for the news piece to be false. Tip number 4, investigate the source of the story. If the story appears to be from an unfamiliar source, check the About section to find out more. It could help you in figuring out the authenticity of the source and the accuracy of the report. Tip number 5, inspect the dates. False news stories on many occasions have been found to be carrying altered event dates and inaccurate timelines. Pay close attention to event dates and cross-check to spot if the news is true or false. Well, we hope that these tips will help you flag off false stories and deal with this rapid fire called fake news. We give you some time to brush up on all of those tips and we'll be back very shortly on Tech It Out. It's time now to get you all the major developments from the world of technology from across the globe. Check this out. NASA has designed a new rover for their 2020 mission to Mars. The new rover looks similar to the 2012 Curiosity rover, but it will have seen new instruments, redesigned wheels, and more autonomy. The 2020 mission plans to study areas of the planet considered to have once been habitable. The rover will also collect samples of rock and soil and set them aside with the goal of collecting them and returning them to Earth in future missions. The rover is set for launch in July or August 2020 with an estimated landing on Mars in February 2021.
China has launched its first intelligent public toilet in Beijing. It's called the Five Space. It combines modern technology, basic public services, and landscape architecture. The Five Space makes full use of sunlight to allow more light inside. In addition, a negative pressure sucking technology has been adopted in the new toilets to prevent unsavory smells. All outlets from the toilet can also be separately recycled as fertilizer. To make things convenient for the public, the Five Space toilet facility has an ATM, charging station, recycling machine, Wi-Fi, e-commerce terminal, vending machine, and many other convenience points. And not only to the public, it also provides sanitation workers with a rest area, including dining room and a shower room.
It really makes me feel comfortable, just like in my house, using my own toilet. And it also provides spans, especially for the elderly.
Costa Rica is test driving its first hydrogen fuel cell electric bus as the Central American nation looks to move towards 100% renewable energy. The vehicle has the capacity for about 40 passengers and can reach an approximate range of 338 kilometers on 38 kgs of compressed hydrogen.
This is the hydrogen station that is part of the sustainable transportation ecosystem that we're inaugurating today. In this plant, renewable energy from the solar panels and the wind turbine is turned into hydrogen gas inside the station through the electrolysis of water. and then that way we can store the electrical energy until we need it. The gas is then pumped into the bus, which stores it in tanks, and then whenever the bus needs to move, gas is turned back into electricity that drives the electric motors. The only byproduct is pure water.
Meet the 17-year-old web designer Usman Tareen, who has brought about a digital revolution in the Kashmir region of India. Usman Tareen's tryst with web development began as early as a teenager, when he first developed an Android gaming app, and by the 11th grade, the 17-year-old had developed apps for local news channels. Tareen's first finished project for public usage, however, was Legal Drug Finder, a healthcare app designed to make people aware of the side effects of drugs apart from finding nearby doctors and hospitals. Later on, Tareen with his two co-partners Naveed Malik and Hanan Muzaffar developed other apps including Kashmir News Files and Craft World.
पहले 7th में मैं वेबसाइट्स करता था डेवलप अपने लिए, फॉर एग्जांपल गेमिंग वेबसाइट्स, एपीके डालता था गेम्स के उसके ऊपर, तो उसके लिए. लेकिन फिर इस 11th से मैंने मतलब एक टाइप का प्रोफेशनल डेवलप करना शुरू की, कंपनीज़ के लिए डेवलप करा था. फॉर एग्जांपल एक कंपनी थी यहाँ पर, एक न्यूज़ एजेंसी है, उनके लिए वेबसाइट डेवलप की है और ऐप भी डेवलप की है.
Tareen and his co-partners say that their aim is to transform Kashmir into a fully digitized state.
अब हमारा एम है कि कश्मीर डिजिटल हो जाए, तो ज़्यादातर जो हमारे प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं वो हमारा एम और एम्बिशन एक ही रहा है कि कश्मीर को आगे ले जाए, कश्मीर को रिप्रेजेंट करना.
Japanese auto giant Toyota has showcased a humanoid robot that can mirror its users' movements. The THR-3 can be controlled by a wearable system that allows users to operate the entire robot in real time by simply moving their own limbs. The THR-3 has 32 joints and boasts of smooth human-like movements. It can also balance itself in one-legged poses. Sensors on the robot can detect how much force it should exert on humans or objects. Toyota says this product has uses as varied as elderly care and disaster response. The company, however, has no immediate plans to sell the THR-3.
Conventional robots are not able to sense what it's like to hold something, so they often squeeze things too hard. This robot can hug you directly and softly.
The century-old Los Angeles Auto Show is now open to the public. While many new cars from top brands have made a stunning debut at the show, it's connected electric cars that go on to be the highlight of this year's auto show. As the focus is on green cars, tech giant Microsoft interestingly has unveiled its cloud computing service platform for green cars at the show. Many car manufacturers are excited with this new move and say that partnering with Microsoft has paved the way for the launch of a connected electric car.
Where Microsoft comes in our partnership, they provide their IoT services, cognitive services, collaborative services, for example, video conferencing, messaging, including live translation within the vehicle, all through the teleconference.
It's time to say goodbye on yet another episode of Tech It Out, but come back next week with some really handy tips and all the tech that's buzzing across the world. Until then, follow us on social media. I'm Sejal Pandey saying goodbye until next week. I'll see you next week.